Tonight's special guest is Kevin Harvey. Kevin is the son of Les Harvey, who created the brand new refurbished Parnell. It all started back in 1973 with a poor, rundown suburb. Les Harvey had a vision, and before long, Parnell was trendy, attractive, and a tourist mecca. We asked Kevin, where to now for Parnell with intense competition from new destinations such as the waterfront? We welcome Kevin Harvey as our special guest on The Beat Goes On. Kevin Harvey, welcome to The Beat Goes On.
Thank you for inviting me.
Wow, great to see you here, Kevin. Now, you've inherited a wonderful empire called Parnell in a certain way, and here we are. We're only about, 200, 300 yards from Parnell, our studios here. It's a hive of activity, and yet it once wasn't. It wasn't a grand suburb once. Well, first of all, it probably was a grand suburb, then it declined, then it came back again, and it was your father, Kevin, your father that did the magic transformation, and you were, as a child, you would have watched it all, wouldn't you?
Well, actually, I more than just watched it. Dad.
You actually had to work.
Had to work, which was something that I can't get my own boys to do. But I think I probably would have been around about 15, and my younger brother Tommy would have been, about 13. And so Dad used to drag us in there, and we'd end up brick paving. Tom and I and Dad did a lot of the brick paving that you can still see there today.
Yeah. It all started around about 1972, 73. Parnell, bit of a rundown suburb. Yeah. Your dad comes along, Les Harvey, and he sees potential. He has a vision. But what did you think about your dad and his vision? Could you see it yourself?
Well, actually, strangely enough, we could, because he was a fantastic man, and he used to inspire us. And we, for some reason, we could sense and see, what he was going to do, because we used to go and collect all the old pieces of collectibles and old window sashes and bricks and all sorts of things, and we just watched him create it, and we were right behind him, actually. Your
father was a resourceful man in the sense that he didn't say, look, I'm going to build a brand new Parnell. He, as you say, went and got old bricks, and he got window sashes, and he weaved it all together. He created
He was a passionate man.
Yeah.
He basically was doing it for people. And of course, a little bit like myself, I've intended to inherit that we can't bear bureaucracy.
Where did that come from? You can't bear bureaucracy.
Well, town planners, Auckland City Council, those sort of people. We found them, very restrictive and hugely uninspiring. So a lot of the work we actually did without a permit. A lot of it. But back in those days, you could get busted halfway through, and they'd say, well, listen, Mr. Harvey, if you just do this and just do that,
you could get away with it.
Get away with it. But the thing was, we didn't ever take shortcuts, and we always used beautiful old Cowrie joinery, and in fact, it would cost a lot more than it would cost to build a contemporary building or a modern building.
Now, your first tenant was Tony Astle, who just last Friday celebrated, he had a huge affair to celebrate 40 years in Parnell, and he was your first tenant, and he's still with you today, isn't he?
Actually, Tony, he's like family, and we love him, and that's the other thing, in terms of our, we love our tenants, and we're proud of them, and we're particularly proud of Tony. And he actually sent me a letter thanking us, the Harvey family, and it was in this beautiful old handwriting, that you just don't see anymore. Yeah. And that was very, very special for me. Very, very special.
Okay, Tony sets up his restaurant called Antoine's in 1973, and slowly more and more, and then suddenly Parnell took off, didn't it? It just boomed, didn't it?
It did.
What was your reaction? What was your dad's reaction? What was your reaction to the fact that it just went like crazy, didn't it?
Well, it did. Part of it was due to the fact that we were the first to get Saturday opening, and so it was really, it was the place to go. And we used to have street artists and street musicians, and in fact I'm starting to do that now. I'm starting to bring back some top beautiful French jazz artists and flamenco guitarists and that sort of thing that we provide just up and down the road, for the tourists and.
So would you own 50% of the premises in Parnell, or a bit less than?
Possibly, but
possibly. Yeah.
Nobody owns anything, and we all end up pushing up daisies, if you know what I mean. And so it doesn't really matter.
Now, it was a great tourist mecca, wasn't it?
It still is.
It
still is.
Yeah.
And we've managed to preserve Parnell, its unique feeling. And that's by, sometimes I might sit with the shop empty for 6 months. We're 98% occupied, always have been. But I won't just put a tenant in just for the money. I won't put in a television shop or $2 shop. I'll wait for the right person.
Okay, so you deliberately turn tenants away because it's got to be the right mix.
It has to be. They have to be people that are stimulating and, that are going to make a difference.
Now, you can do that. Obviously, you've got enough resources behind you that you can do the weight.
Yeah, the whole thing is, it's not really so much a business now, it's a pleasure.
Yeah.
It's a slight folly. And we're very lucky as a family to be able to do that, to indulge ourselves. But, it's nice to be able to do something that you love doing.
A slight folly. That's a wonderful way of looking at it. Wonderful baby boomer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very lucky, very happy to be part of the baby boomers.
And we always ask our baby boomers, Rolling Stones or Beatles?
Beatles.
Beatles. Once we had two main streets, we had Ponsonby and Parnell, they were buzzing. Then they developed the waterfront and sucked a lot of the crowds away. What were your feelings when that happened? Did you feel as though you were getting support from Auckland City when they do that to you?
The old man used to say, it's better to be between A, B and C than it is to be at either A or C. And he said, if you're on the waterfront, he said, you can't sell to fish. So we actually, we're very happy to have our big brother or sister being Newmarket. But what we try and do is, it's a little bit like a garden. We look after the ecology so that we can have our own specific stamp. So people will go to the chain shops, stores in Newmarket, and then they'll come down here to look at an art gallery or to have a beautiful courtyard lunch. So that's, we sort of see ourselves, we're not too worried about what other players are doing. We just do what we think is best.
And what is it that you think that you do best?
It's taken time, but I think that I've developed, along the lines of my dad, a great empathy for my tenants. So we have an extremely close relationship with our tenants, and collectively as a family, we make a place magic. And the whole and the tenants in terms, we're just the catalysts, and so if you get this collective energy of people doing things that make a difference for the people that they come into contact with, being the tourists, being the local shoppers, then I think it's all worthwhile. We hope to keep it running. We probably won't let our children take over just yet. We've got a very good little team, and we hope to preserve it and just keep it.
So there was the three children of Les, and now how many children have the three children had?
I don't know. I've had about 4 children, and my brother's had about 4 as well, and my sister's had 2.
So what you say?
Well,
there's 10 potential young people to
yes, but
keep the vision going.
As anyone could guess, it's a bit of a logistical nightmare.
Yeah.
So we're just leaving it for now until we can identify 1 or 2 that could more or less fill the shoes and empathise with the tenants, and not we don't want people that are going to be like businessmen with MBAs, that sort of thing, and that work off.
You want character. You want character.
Yeah, and people that work off impulse and intuition.
Do you live in Parnell yourself, Kevin, or?
I live over in Campbell's Bay.
Yeah.
Very lucky there, just a little tree house. But I've also, for the last 10 years, I've been living out the back of Parkery, up in the hills, and I absolutely love it.
So are
my
you
bath's outside, my shower's outside. You know,
Well, you're looking well. Are you well?
I am compared to how I used to be. I'm riddled with arthritis, but I've been on this. Have a beautiful couple. They're running an bakery. It's a vegan restaurant, and they're doing wonderful things for people. So she's had me on this diet so that I can try and ameliorate this arthritis.
Wow.
But the pain can get, the relentless pain becomes very depressing.
Oh.
So I came to a point where I had to knock it on the head, stop drinking my red wine at night, stop my lamb chops.
Does the world end when you can't drink red wine anymore? Does it
No,
end?
it's strange. I didn't miss it at all.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if I do get a hankering to have one glass of wine, that's fine. You know, I'm not going to feel guilty about it. But my taste buds have changed. I'm not so much into steak or a rack of lamb like I used to be.
And you've noticed a big difference?
It's a continuing difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't noticed a huge difference yet in the pain, but they say there is no actual cure for
arthritis.
No, not really. And unfortunately, you know, we sort of are closer to 70 than we are to 25, and generally going in that direction. You can't deny it, unfortunately.
What's the whole journey all about? Are you a philosopher, Kevin? Have you come up with any reason why?
Yes, I am, and I've come to some very firm conclusions, and that is that I haven't got a clue. I haven't got a clue. Every day I know a little bit less.
I love it. Every day I know a little bit less.
Yes,
But that is the thing about, you know, the great thing about aging is that you do realise that it's a wonderful mystery, isn't it?
Well, I partly resent it as well. I do resent, because I've had such a wonderful life, and a fairly wild life, I'd have to say. And I do partly resent the ageing process, but I am thinking about trying to do something for us baby boomers. I'd like to see. I feel very saddened with the denigration that goes on in the final years, when people are moving from a retirement home to a rest home, and the whole it's awful. And I don't know if I'm going to get time, but I would like to see if somehow in my later years I could make some difference for us guys, so that we can sort of grow old with a little bit more dignity. And it might even, I don't know, there's all sorts of things. I'm thinking of setting up these beautiful little bures up in Parkery there, where you can come and enjoy a retreat and be looked after, be pampered, and we'll even play some of the old music.
Where do I sign up?
Yeah, no, it'll be good. It'll be really good.
Now, before we go, Kevin, we go all over New Zealand, whether it's Invercargill, Masterton, New Plymouth, Palmerston North.
I've heard of those places. They're south of the Bombays, aren't they?
Invite them. Say, look, don't forget Parnell. When you're in Auckland, it's still a wonderful place to visit.
Yes. I would invite you all to come down, and it's a gentle place. It's a kind place for people, and it's not as plush or as people used to perceive it as being a very expensive place. It's not actually like that at all. It's a very gentle place with a lot of new...
Wonderful history.
A wonderful history and kind, new energy as well,
Kevin, look, it's been great to talk to you.
Lovely to talk to you too.
So this is my first meeting with you, and I didn't know who was doing what in Parnell, but it's great to see you and know that the grand old lady is still in business and thriving.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.